Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your support. Today we're going to be talking about the Rhino High Fidelity release of Black Sabbath Paranoid. I'm laughing and kind of smiling because listening to this brings back a flood of memories for me. Like in the mid-70s, I was listening to this as a teenager, and I can remember sitting around in a circle with all my friends and, you know, like hitting the bong and like being out of my mind listening to this record. Well, it's a little different today. Of course, I listen to it sober, but it's fun to go back and hear these records that made such an impression on you when you were younger. And Black Sabbath still delights new generations of listeners with their groundbreaking sound. Of course, it's been copied and, imitated, but there's nothing like hearing the purveyors of this dark doom rock. And this record particularly stands out in the Black Sabbath catalog as significant. The new cut is mastered by Kevin Gray, of course, on his beautiful mastering setup. It is a AAA cut, so it's all analog, and it's pressed at Optimal, Germany, and housed in a beautiful jacket. Unfortunately, mine has a ding on the corner. Oh man, I was so disappointed with that. But other than that, the cover looks really beautiful, as expected from Rhino High Fi. Really nice. The band at this time consisted of Ozzy Osbourne on vocals, of course. There he is. Tommy Iommi on lead guitar, Terry Geezer Butler on bass, and Bill Ward on drums. This was a limited edition of 5,000, and it sold out in one day. I pressed buy as soon as I saw it. I guess it was on the morning of the announcement or the release, and I was able to get a copy. If you didn't get a copy, rest assured that it's going to be repressed in an unnumbered edition, just like the first one was. Yes, this Black Sabbath series is selling extremely well for Rhino. They're not going to leave money on the table. So I would say don't pay any inflated prices for a numbered edition. The unnumbered edition will be the same record and should come in a couple of months. I don't have the key pressings that people like to compare this to. The olive green artisan pressing and one or the other of the vertical label pressings, the spaceship or the swirl pressing. At this point, getting a vertigo pressing is extremely expensive, and it's really not guaranteed what kind of condition it's going to be in. These records got played a lot, just like my memories of playing it. They got played on crappy phonographs of the day, and getting a new edition of Paranoid is a treat. And I have to say, taken on its own terms, I really enjoyed what Kevin did with this. I've had some criticisms of the Rhino High Fi series before, feeling like they were a little lacking in deep bass and a little bit tipped up towards the top. In this case, the brightness and the clarity is still there. I don't consider this particularly bright, but it is vivid, and compared to some other pressings, you might find that it's very visceral in a way. This is a record that demands to be turned up loud. The first time I played it, I kind of had it on triode mode at my normal audiophile listening levels, and I said, what am I doing? I gotta play this loud. So I put it on ultra linear and blasted it, and it really came to life. And I enjoyed listening to the increased clarity and resolution that Kevin Gray was able to get out of this. from the opening of the first track, War Pigs, you know you're in for a ride. It's very heavy and powerful. If I were to paint a picture of how I felt when listening to this, it's like the record had an iron grip on my turntable and wouldn't let go. When you play it loud, it has that feeling like relentless power and surprises that just keep coming and coming, and you don't want to take it off. And that's a good thing, because some of these Rhino Hi-Fis I've wanted to take off before they're even halfway through the first side. And that didn't happen with this. It does have deeper bass than the first one, which is nice. Very good clarity and instrumental texture, particularly the guitars and the drums. The bass does go low and anchors the songs very well. The guitars are clear and with more detail than I've ever heard before. But it's the drums that really set this record apart. The drums finally are audible and clear and powerful. And the cymbals are spraying all over the place in a good way. It's like a relentless attack. And it's so much fun to listen to. The vocal clarity on Ozzy Osbourne in most of the cuts is right there. It's very clear and precise, and I heard more out of the vocal than I ever heard before. The only other pressing I have is not even worth mentioning. It's this Castle Sanctuary digital mastering. I think it doesn't have the date on it. I'm sorry, I don't have the date, but this was not highly regarded when it came out, but that was bathed in murk, and not in a good way. It was just heavily, heavily veiled. And when I listened to the drums comparison between the two cuts, the drums are just subdued on this, and on the Rhino Hi-Fi, they're very visceral. So I think people that like a dynamic, clear, visceral version of their favorite music from the 70s will really like the Rhino Hi-Fi. Some standout cuts to me were, well, the first one really was a surprise. It was Planet Caravan. Planet Caravan I always used to consider sort of an interlude. Nothing too exciting, just kind of a breather before the last cut, Iron Man. But in this case, I think it's a standout track on the album. Sure, it's not heavy and powerful and big like, you know, Fairies Wear Boots and Iron Man and War Pigs, but it has a new level of clarity which really brings out the space, the simple arrangement, the guitar, and particularly the Congo taps. So on the other pressing that I have, that's all buried. On the Rhino Hi-Fi, it's open and clear, and you hear the bongo being tapped and the space. Of course, there's a treated vocal, but I really enjoyed that cut a lot, and it really elevated the record for me. I also enjoyed Paranoid itself. Now, the cut Paranoid comes right after War Pigs, and while War Pigs is super clear and very open, Paranoid has always been a little more closed down. But the groove on this is relentless. When you hear this loud, it's so much fun. It's like a freight train coming right at you. And although it's a bit murky compared to the rest of the album, it's really fun to listen to, and it has very deep bass. So you'll notice cut-to-cut variations, but Paranoid was a thrill to hear. I really like that. What else we got here? Oh, Iron Man. Well, Iron Man I've just heard so many times. I didn't think that anything could really impress me, but it did. It really did. Again, compared to this Castle Sanctuary pressing, Iron Man was powerful. The drum hits in the beginning, the bass drum hits, are fuller and more powerful. So it has a more dynamic presentation than the rather tame version that's on this. Yeah. And from there, the ride is great. Iron Man was great. Even though I feel like sort of lyrically it's a little simplistic, I really did like hearing it again, and it didn't disappoint whatsoever. On the second side, there's some great highlights. Electric Funeral, of course. Hand of Doom, wow. The bass is really great in that. The space is rendered really well. The different sections, going from soft to loud, are handled great. It's lyrically very dark for me. It was a little dark for me, but I did enjoy the power and the dynamics of that cut. Rat Salad, wow, Rat Salad is a showcase for Billboard's drumming, and that doesn't disappoint either. It's powerful. The cymbals are splashing everywhere. It's relentless, especially when you listen to it loud. That was elevated too for me on this cut. And of course, the closing track, Fairies Wear Boots, is a great track to close with. It's so impressive. Really great. I enjoyed hearing the whole album. I think I'm predicting that most people are going to be thrilled with this. Really, to get a nice edition of Paranoid for $40 is a great deal. It's very expensive to get the key pressings. And as I said, condition could be an issue. On most systems, I think this will sound just fine. If your system is tipped up at all or lacking in low end, you might find it a little bit bright. But if your track record with Rhino Hi-Fi has been positive, I think you'll love it. And even for me, where I've had some disappointments with Rhino Hi-Fi, in this case, listen to it pretty much on its own. I was very impressed with the Rhino High Fidelity edition, and it's an easy recommendation for me. Those are my thoughts on Black Sabbath Paranoid. Let me know what you think in the comments. And until next time, I'm Scott for The Pressing Matters. Have a great day.